So this is a little bit different, a little exciting. I'm trying something new, just this once. Let me know what you think. This summer I did a video diary of making this quilt, this particular quilt, which I'll show you at the end. So cool. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Michelle from The Simple Quilter reached out to me back in January of 2024 and asked me if I'd be interested in a collaboration with her and Fallon from So Be It Quilts making this quilt. She sent me the pattern and I got started on June 17th. And then I did little clips, a video diary throughout the summer. It took me 100 days to make this quilt from beginning to end, and I was working on other projects. So it was perfect. It just was a low stress, low key, fun project. And the following are the clips from all summer long. Before I show you those, however, my name is Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance. Thank you so much for joining me on this very special project. It's been so much fun. One other thing you might notice is the weight loss. I have been on a weight loss journey. I know many of you have asked about it, and I have lost a lot of weight. This video diary, surprisingly, shows the progression of that as well. And also going gray. I'm letting my hair go gray. But that's just a side note. At the very end of this video, I will show the final product, and I will also give you a few ideas on making this quilt and some suggestions. And also, if you're interested, there's a bonus clip at the end of me sorting the fabric and actually picking the fabrics that I used in this quilt. So let's go back to when it started and watch the progression of this incredible quilt that took me 100 days to make. It is June 17th, 2024, and we are at the start of a week of, or what they're expecting to be a heat wave here in central Pennsylvania. This is the perfect time to start a snowflake quilt, at least I think so. So I'm going to make this quilt out of a blue background, very scrappy, and a white snowflake. The blue background, I'm going to do navies and maybe some light blues sprinkled in. Interestingly, I don't have a ton of blue scraps. I especially don't have a ton of navy blue scraps. So a friend of mine, Gail, thanks Gail, gave me a bunch of her scraps, so I have a good start. But I want to sort through the rest of my fabrics and decide on the fabrics for this. So I'm going to sort through these, find a nice pile, and take you with me. So there is quite a bit now that I look at it. And I'm gonna pull out the navy blues first, I think, and then try to decide on some of these lighter colors. I have all of this fabric picked out. I'm gonna press it and cut it into chunks because I'm gonna send a package to Fallon. She's doing this too, and I know she would appreciate some scraps. We're gonna swap some scraps, so it gives us variety. Here they all are. I'm gonna package them up and get them off in the mail to Fallon. Look what came today. This came from Fallon, yay! So I got some fabric from her. Let's see what's inside. Oh my goodness. Oh, look, and she even put her little sticker on there. How nice is that? I need to get stickers. All right, let's see. Oh my goodness, look at these fabrics. Look at them, they're so pretty. Let's see, oh my goodness, look at that one. Look at that, there's so many pretty fabrics here. I love this snowflake. Oh boy, these are great. Thank you, Fallon. These are wonderful. I can't wait to get started. I'm gonna cut these up and we're gonna start making some blocks because I think I have enough fabric. I did decide that I'm not gonna go with the lighter blue. I thought about doing it for the snowflake because I might have enough between the whites and blues. Some of these definitely I can use if I do that with the whites. I don't know, there's so many decisions, and I like taking you through this process because this is how I work. I make choices along the way. I don't necessarily plan all at once. Okay, so much happening. So today is Saturday, I think the 6th. Yeah, July 6th. It is so hot outside, and here I am making a snowflake quilt. So much to talk about for this update. I decided to go with a white fabric, and I have this yardage. I originally gathered up all of my white fabric scraps and was gonna make the snowflake, I was gonna say flaky, not flaky. I was gonna make the snowflake out of white scraps. But I kind of have this rule in my life where if I am making a scrap quilt, I like to have at least one component be not scrappy and controlled. I break this rule occasionally, but for the most part, I stick with it. And this is the case with this particular project. I'm kind of driving myself nuts trying to pull different varieties of blues. I don't want to have to keep track and choose different patterns on white fabric. It's going to be too much for me to kind of keep straight in my head. So I decided to go with this. I had this, I bought a few yards of it at a sale. So I cut the strips and I'm going to cut the squares on my AccuQuilt. I've been using the construction of this as leaders and enders. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it's from Bonnie Hunter. She kind of coined it, at least I think she did. It's where you sew something before you sew something, and then you can sew something after, and it keeps your needle down onto something like a frog is what they would call it years ago. And it just allows you to make a project while you're making a project. And I was working on this project last night, and I made actually one panel of it. So gorgeous, I love it. And as I was working on this one, I made, I think 12 of the components for this quilt. So I'm gonna keep going with that idea, even with the white parts of the snowflake and all of that wonderful stuff as I build this. I also have Fallon's fabric that she sent me. I'm gonna cut this on the AccuQuilt too and get these going. So that's the update for today. I am trucking right along with this snowflake project. It's becoming so much fun. So I have all of my squares. Let me grab them. I think this isn't all of them, but this is some of them. They're in here. I have all of these done. So this is one of the main components. I made up coloring sheets. You know how I like to do that. I can't show you all of it. Not my pattern, but I did that. So I've been coloring in my blocks as I go. You know how much I love to do that. I still have quite a few of these squares. I have my whites that I have to do. And yesterday, although I didn't record an update, I did cut a lot of the other stuff that I had to cut on my AccuQuilt. I have everything cut that I need for this quilt. That's really cool too. So now it's all about sewing and getting it put together. I'm feeling ahead of schedule at this point, and I was sitting here early last night thinking, I wonder if I should make two, maybe a light blue with the white snowflake. My thought was I would finish this in probably August, but as I keep sewing, I keep thinking it's just going faster and faster, and it's just gonna get done a lot sooner, but we'll see. All right, stay tuned. It's August 1st and it's time for an update. So I have been super busy. I've been making blocks. I have, I think 17, maybe 16 of the 20 blocks made, and it's coming together so beautifully. And I got excited at like block 10 or so, I started laying it out, and I did notice a couple that I want to change. I love that I'm putting the Patriots fabric in there, but I also don't like the way it really looks altogether. I am gonna wait to change it until I get all the blocks done, get the entire thing laid out, but I probably will pull out these few blocks that just didn't do it for me. Anyway, I love how it's coming together. Now, one tip is, I was kind of dumb because there are 3 different sets of instructions in the pattern, and one of them is for using like solid fabrics, as you can see in the picture on the front here. So there's blocks that you cut out instead of doing squares. And I wasn't thinking, because I'm doing a scrappy version, but I'm doing the snowflake in the same fabric, that I could have cut bigger pieces and not pieced together sections. Let me show you what I mean. In block 11, you can see how I have like this whole section that didn't have to be pieced into the exact same fabric squares. But hey, live and learn. If I ever make it again, which I probably will, I will know to pay attention to that. So I'm gonna keep going. I only have pieces, like I only have this much in pieces left for the last 4 blocks or so. I hope to have this quilt top put together by mid-August. That's kind of my new goal. Definitely will have the blocks done, and then I want to get it to the long armor, I think. I'm also thinking about putting like a cuddle on the back or some sort of fluffy fabric. I don't know. Can't wait to see how it turns out. So all of the blocks are done, and I had to go to my basement and put up a piece of batting to lay them all out because, well, I just didn't have the space in my sewing room, and we're also renovating the sewing room, so things are kind of a mess. Anyway, I put it all out, and I realized there were a few blocks that I just didn't like and I needed to change, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit because I really wanted those sports themed blocks in there, the Red Sox and the Patriots, but I also knew they didn't really go, they kind of stood out. So I decided to take those couple blocks and I replaced them, and all I did was open up the seams and took out that section and then sewed it back together. So it worked out beautifully. I actually started sewing it together, and I have 2 rows here. Let me see what the top is. Here it is. Okay, so here's the first 2 rows. Look at how pretty. It's really coming along. I think I have 2 more rows to do, and then I am going to figure out what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to quilt it myself, have it long-armed. So the next installment will probably be the entire quilt done, quilt top done. We're almost there for this video diary. I finally got it done. I have been working on some other projects, so this kind of went on hold for a few weeks, but I got it put together and I love it. Look at how pretty. I'll show you the whole thing when it's all finished. I did order the backing and I got this Crystal Frost Snowflake in blue, and I think it comes in red too. It's so pretty. It's 108 inches wide, so it's a nice wide back, which incidentally, I used to call fat backs. That's what I called them when I lived in New England, so I don't know if you call them that. Let me know if you call them that, but I guess they're called wide backs. I almost got a cuddle, but I decided to go with the cotton instead. I'm going to quilt it myself. I'm not quite sure what that is yet. I am going to try something fun, I think. I don't know what I'm going to do, but you'll find out. I will be back when I sandwich this and get this all ready to go to be quilted, and then I have to decide also on a binding, which I'm not sure about that either, but I'm thinking about it. And of course a label. Fabric is finally here. I'm gonna give it a good press and start to baste it here. Take you along with me. Okay, time to catch you up a little bit on this amazing quilt. So I ended up sandwiching it by using the backing and putting the backing with the right side down, so the not pretty side is up. Then I layered the batting on top of that, and I'm clamping the entire way that I'm doing this just to hold it nice and taut, but not too tight that I get puckers in the back. Next, I take the quilt top and I layer that with the right side up, so I have a nice quilt sandwich. I clamp it all down, and then I start to add pins, and I pin basted this entire thing. Got it nice and flat before I removed it and took it over to the machine, and then it was time to quilt. Now for quilting, I didn't want to do free motion quilting because I'm not that great at it, but I am pretty good at walking foot quilting, and I wanted it to look like wind. So I wanted these real wavy, free motion, no real order to them, meaning the spacing was just random, however I wanted to do it. I was almost like coloring, and I started by anchoring it down at each seam, so I would just do a wavy line in increments of, I don't know, like 3-4 inches, and then I would fill in between. Then I kind of got creative and thought I would do some pink and purple, but it turned out I didn't really like the look of that, so I ended up picking that out. But I did decide that I was going to put some metallic thread in, and I've never worked with metallic thread, so that was a lot of fun. And I pulled from a big stash that I have from my aunt. When she passed away, I have this container of all of these wonderful threads, and it was perfect for this. And I just put a little bit of glam in it. I think I ended up with like 16 wavy rows randomly placed with the metallic thread, and it turned out so pretty. I also did something else that was a little brave, and I used a different weight on top for the thread, and I think I have it back here. Yes, I do. I used this. So it was Micro Quilter, it's Superior Threads, and it's 100 weight. So the higher the number, the skinnier the thread, and that's what I ended up using on top. It is so pretty. On the bottom bobbin, I used my regular cotton 50 weight. I don't think you're supposed to do that, but when I put this in the bobbin, it just, my tension got all messed up. So I went to it. I love the way this turned out. So pretty. It is so soft and wonderful, and there's so many cool stitches in it, and that silver just adds a nice little touch. So I ended up trimming this all up after I quilted it, and now it's time to bind. Here we are on October 2nd binding this quilt, but it will be done. Maybe not as quickly as I thought it would be, but it will be done. I was trying to decide between these two fabrics for binding. I like this one because there's a little bit of silver in it. It's kind of playful, but I wasn't a fan of the green. And I also don't love having a lighter binding because that's usually what gets dirty. But I had this other one in my stash and I really liked it. It was a medium blue and it was a little retro looking and it was a lot of fun. So I ended up cutting my binding, and now it is time to bind this quilt. So the next time I see you, that'll be all done. Stay tuned. Okay, are you ready to see the quilt, the finished quilt? Oh my goodness. And I did finish this on September 24th, 2024. I did wait though a little bit to record, just life got in the way. But let's look at this quilt. Here it is. All right, I don't think I'm getting a great picture of it, but I will put an inset picture of it here. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my goodness, I love how this turned out. It was so much fun. I can't wait to make another one. All right, let me go back to sit down. All right, as promised, I was gonna give you a few tips if you're choosing to make this quilt. It really is a fun one, and there are 3 different options on the pattern. You can do scrappy, you can do stripes like it has, or you can do a solid color. So many different ways, and the directions are fantastic. One of my biggest tips to give you, however, is to pay attention to the pressing. I did not do that. I couldn't find pressing instructions in the directions, so before you get started, decide on how you're gonna press, what blocks you're gonna press which way. It will help you in the long run for sure. Another tip is to not do what I did and cut those squares that are meant to be squares, like in the snowflake blocks, instead of using small squares and sewing them all back together. That was pretty silly of me, and I was not thinking. And interestingly, in the booklet that comes with this, it chose to do that and not to do what I did, so I don't know what I was thinking. My mind just was not there, so make sure you do that. Finally, the last tip I can give you is to have some fun with this. The quilt does go together really fast and is beautiful, but you can get hung up on little things. For example, if the points don't exactly match, that can be a problem and it can get you hung up. And I don't want to see anybody get hung up. I want to see these quilts finished. It's not going to matter when it's all done. When it just comes together so beautifully, even if something doesn't quite line up, it's going to be okay. If you have any questions about this quilt, let me know. I will put a link to it below in the description. I also have a blog on this whole process. And of course, you'll be seeing some things on Facebook and stuff like that of this quilt. Ask away, happy to help. I want to thank Michelle for inviting me to do this. This was so much fun, so rewarding. At the very end, there is a bonus clip of me sorting all the fabric. Make sure you check that out if you're interested in seeing some of the decisions I made through the sorting process. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you take some time to sew, and I will see you real soon. Bye. All right, so this is what I landed on, and I did pull some lighter blues too. So let's start with the navies or the dark blues. This is tricky because there's so many different tones. Like looking at these two, we have like a very bright cobalt blue. Is that what that's called? I think so. And then more of a country blue here. And this, so I think what I'm gonna do is just mix a bunch of blues. I have this Millennium fabric. I love it, year 2000. We'll just really mess them up. This is great because it's a nice dark fabric, but there's too many other colors, so I don't think it really reads as blue. So I'm gonna put that one aside. Love this. These are too small, or I would use them. Too small. All right, and then we have some navy solids, some more of the cobalt. Again, we're seeing lots of different colors in here, so I'm gonna put this one aside even though I love it. That's too small. Same thing here. I really don't want red, white, and blue, even though this is a great print. I don't know if I could fussy cut blue. I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave that one out. And this is a nice one, but again, we have some yellow. It could work. It's a little too small though. All right, again with that country blue. You know, I think I'm pulling this out. I don't think it's gonna go. Let me pull the other one. There we go. These definitely will work. That's a nice blue. That can go with my lights. Oh, I don't know, that reads as navy. I think I'm keeping that one in. I can always change my mind. They're too small even though they work. These work. Okay, this is a homespun. I am not going to use this just because it's a looser weave and I don't want to have a looser weave in here. Again, year 2000 print, definitely putting in. Love this. More of that. Look at the snowbands going in. This is an outer space one. I think I'm leaving it out just because of all the green. But then we do have this green that's a little more muted, and this is a Christmas print, leaving that in. And love the stars. Love these stars. Okay, Dr. Seuss, as much as I love him, he's going out. I think these are too small. Oh, I like the stars. That's a nice vintage print. I have to look at my vintage prints. This isn't big enough, but we'll have to look. Ooh, I have the Patriots. I could put them in. That might be fun, just because I'm a huge Patriots fan. Ice cream, oh, wouldn't that be fun? If this were the right, like there was enough variety, I don't know, maybe I'll put that in because that's a fun little print to have in a Christmas quilt or a holiday quilt, winter quilt, I guess. Again with the homespun, although, is this homespun? I don't think it is. I think I'm gonna keep that one in. This and this. All right, so I have those along with the ones that my friend Gail gave me. Let's see here. I'm going to pull a few of these out. This definitely, this is too small. I think this might be a little light. I love the snowflakes. That's nice. Here's another. I have a lot of Millennium fabrics, but I think it's too turquoisey. Same thing with that. This I think is too light. Yeah, that's too light too. That's too light. This has too much purple in it. This is a maybe. I don't know if that's too light, but then the blueprint makes it nice. That's a maybe. And this is right on the edge. Both of these kind of are, although this one's a little light. I don't know, I'm gonna keep those in. We'll see. All right, so I now have a nice stack along with my fabrics. Let me reach over here from Gail, and then I'll keep looking for other fabrics that can go in this as I make my way through the next summer months. I'll go to a couple quilt shows. Maybe I can pick something up there, but I think this is a really great start.